Tristan and Isolde, or I suppose to give it its correct title, Tristan plus Isolde, because it's like, Romeo plus Juliet, yep. Tristan plus Isolde. Dark Ages version of Romeo and Juliet, of course. Endless ongoing war between the English and Irish. You may know this story anyway. Tristan, played by James Franco, nice cheeks. Not a whole lot else going on, but nice cheeks. Believed dead, put in a burial boat, sailed off the English coast, arrives in Ireland, where he is revived by Isolde, who is the daughter of the ruler with whom the English are at war. She revives him back to health, but then realises that he must go, because if her father finds him on Irish soil, he shall be torn limb from limb. And yet, in the small amount of time they spent together, love has blossomed. The enchanting voice of Sophia Myles, who I actually like very much. I liked her very much as Lady Penelope in the Thunderbirds movie, which I was singularly alone in defending, whilst everybody else got it wrong. But again, if you have kids and they've seen the Thunderbirds movie, you'll know that I was right. It's very entertaining and bears up many, many viewings, and her performance in that is very fine. She's actually the best thing in Tristan and Isolde. This was a long-time pet project for Ridley Scott. He was going to do it immediately after The Duelists, and as you know, even when his movies aren't great, Ridley Scott does remain a visionary director. He has an extraordinary way of creating whole new worlds, whether it's the world of Blade Runner or the world of Alien or the world of Kingdom of Heaven, or Gladiator. That's what he does. Sadly, didn't end up directing it, ends up producing it, and the directing chores went to Kevin Reynolds. Now, you remember him because he was the guy who directed Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, that incredibly historically accurate tract in which, as we've said on several occasions, they land at the White Cliffs of Dover in the morning.
Walk along Hadrian's Wall to Nottingham.
To Nottingham, where they arrive by tea time. And of course, in the world of Robin Hood, everyone dresses like a goth and has a feather cut and sings along to Bryan Adams songs. Well, all that historical authenticity has been brought to bear on the story of Tristan and Isolde, which, despite the fact that it's set in the Dark Ages, includes the line, "Why does loving you feel so wrong?" which I'm sure they never said that sort of thing in the Dark Ages. It also includes quotations from John Donne. Now, unless I missed a meeting, I don't think John Donne was around in the Dark Ages.
How are you defining the Dark Ages, by the way?
The period before John Donne was around.
Just carry on, I'll just look it up.
Okay, fine. I think John Donne was 17th century. Anyway, and also, there's this absolutely...
He used to do Drive on Radio 2, yeah?
Did he? John Donne?
Yeah, before he was replaced by Johnny Walker.
Oh, yes, I think he did, yeah. And there's also this absolutely lovely moment in which Tristan, our hero, says...
1572 to 1631.
I don't think John Donne...
I think that might just be after the Dark Ages by a couple of years. But
I think so. I think he doesn't really count, does he?
Anyway,
can I move on?
Yes, absolutely.
There's a lovely moment in which Isolde says to Tristan, the problem with our romance is that there's never going to be any picnics. And again, picnics? When's this set?
Do I have to look that up as well?
No, you don't. So, on the good side, Sophia Myles is a very fine actress. I hope that she finds better material than this. She has real screen presence and she gives it her best. On the bad side, it just stodges along. It isn't Romeo and Juliet, even though it wants to be Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet. It's got a sweeping score that attempts to fill in the gaps left by the script. But most damningly, it has in its hero this incredibly bland guy who you just think, I'm actually not really convinced that a character as interesting as Sophia Myles Isolde is meant to be would go to the ends of the earth to be with this bloke. In fact, the love rival, the person that she ends up marrying, is far more interesting. Dark-haired, strange, only has one hand, interesting character. Really, I'd end up with him. So, fundamental, problematic flaw that there's not much chemistry between the leads.